Backyard wrestling fans, welcome to another episode of Shooting with the Saint with Anthony Aries, the first podcast episode of the new year 2024. And what a way to kick off the podcast going into the new year by having a very special guest. He is the one, the only, half-blinded Jake Howell.
Yeah, I'm half blinded. Hello, I'm half blinded.
Yeah, kayfabe. He's totally blinded. See, everything else is fake in wrestling, but this eye injury, it's totally real. He has tetanus. He's dying. He almost had a stroke on camera before.
Yeah, it's very true. I was,
And we're not laughing about this. This is a very serious hashtag donations to the disabled out there. But anyway, it's been a minute since we actually,
spoke.
Yeah, spoke in general. You've been on the podcast, like my old podcast. Actually, you were my first podcast, actually.
Oh wow!
When I was doing the podcast on Instagram, is right after you left TBW. My first ever podcast, Curse of Aries Live, which I think that's on this channel. You guys can go, in the archive. And then you were on the FBW Undisputable podcast twice. But now you're on Shooting with the Saint. So how have you been?
To call the last couple of years weird journey is not even going to put the proper. I can't even say. I mean, I'm holding up, but so much has happened in a short amount of time. I feel both dead and alive at the same time. If that makes sense.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all?
Yeah.
Like sometimes I even debate why have I not stayed retired?
Sometimes I debate why am I. Like why. What is the purpose of But I feel like it's an obligation to the people that watch the show to just keep going, give them something.
You ever think like, why do we put our bodies through such physical harm? What's the point?
I think, and then I realize it's best to just do it, because if you just do it, you don't have to question the pain. You can just move on from the pain. You can just, it's not.
We question that, and then we're like, all right, let's go do a fucking 360 fucking pile driver through a barbed wire table.
It's like, you know what? Why am I doing this? And then I'm like, you know what? Hey,
someone said barbed wire.
How about you hit me in the head with a steel chair as hard as you can?
So while we're on the topic, what's the most craziest painful bump or spot you ever done?
It's not a
Wrestling
glamorous.
I'm just playing.
It's not really glamorous. It's more like a chore, but
yeah. So what is the most painful, craziest spot you've ever done?
I mean, since we done this last podcast, I did have my concussion. That was the most painful injury because of the long-term effects that it's had on my mental health and my physical health.
So how did you get that concussion again?
I was wrestling CJ, shout out CJ, at our first Final Destination event, and it was a simple move. It was a DDT. It was just a simple DDT. I did not cover myself for the DDT, and he went down with full force, and it knocked me goofy. It knocked me completely out. Silly. I was still doing shit. I got hit in the head 6 more times during that match.
Damn.
And it was a 54-minute match, and I still had to do that because we had to make up for time, because if we're shooting, we were going to have Blaze come in and do a match on the show too, but he couldn't be there, and so we had to use the time that we had to fill. And it was a long match, and it was a grueling match, and I don't regret it, but I still feel the physical effects of that to this day.
And
but
how long ago was that?
FD1 was 2022.
Yeah, concussions are no joke. Concussions.
It's been about a year. That's why I had to vacate that championship.
I got a concussion being DDT'd on a ladder once.
Yeah, so we kind of have that's...
And that was all the way back in 2015.
I recall... I can't remember much of that match. I remember little glimpses and bits and pieces of it, but I remember the DDT. I remember getting put through the table, hitting my move, and then holding the belt up. And when I was holding the belt, I'm like, what the fuck? Where am I? Where the fuck am I? And I was like, and then I look at the belt and I'm like, oh, everything went to plan.
See, I only
Hooray!
remember my shit because I'm a fucking weirdo, and I will binge watch my own fucking content because I
Yeah,
don't know. I get off to seeing myself. I don't know. Call me. I
I
don't
don't
fucking
know
know.
what to say to that, but
I'm just kidding. But I study my content, so that's how I only like that's how I know like what happened during the match. I got my concussion. Got spiked right on the ladder.
I have a funny story about the day after.
So
So I'm clearly out of my mind, right? This exact room. Remember, just laying here, waking up, and looking around like, who the fuck am I? Like, what the fuck am I doing here? And then I get a text from my at the time girlfriend. Since left that. That's a different
R.I.P.
story.
R.I.P.
No, no R.I.P.
He said, "About that bitch."
Uh, yeah. And she's like, hey,
Good
do
guy,
you still
Howell.
want do you still want to go to the Renaissance Fair?
You're like, no, bitch,
No,
my knees hurts.
I was like, sure, dear, of course we can. And that whole day, if I could find a picture, I looked, I probably looked high, but in reality, I was just questioning reality around me. I'm
He
like,
said,
why
I'm
the
vibing.
fuck?
He said,
Yeah,
I'm
no,
vibing.
I was off. So I was sitting there like, why is there a fairy person? Like, why is there a dragon? Why is all this happening? And she was like, dude, get a grip on yourself. You're embarrassing me. And I was sitting there like, I got my head rocked.
Did she know that you wrestled? I mean, there's like
Yeah,
possibly.
she knew, but she didn't know the extent of the injury. She never quite understood the injuries. I mean, that was the worst injury besides the sternum, of course. But that itself, I mean, that's just that whole head. I mean, that concussion still. I will still forget things periodically, and people around me will be like, "Jake, what the fuck happened?"
That's
I'm like,
wild.
"Don't fucking ask me. I don't know."
I'm not gonna lie, like I have pretty good long term memory, but like short term memory, like
Yes.
I'm honest, like I can remember like all this FBW shit or like these specific dates like in my relationship or
Mm-hmm.
shit. But if you tell me to do something, I'm probably gonna forget within like 10 minutes. It's wild, dude. It's wild.
Yeah, I agree. It's fucking. I mean, concussions are no joke.
So it's been a while since we, like we said, that we've talked and, you've been on a podcast in general.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
let's just take it way back and like refresh over everything. So, if people want to, get into the TBW issues and the TBW, stories, I would just link the original podcast
Yeah.
because, at the time that was everything. So like if you guys want to get more details and like be in the moment of like the TBW drama and stuff, just go check out the
Although,
podcast.
although I will say this, I had a smidge of um, I just had hatred flowing through me, and
Like
I've
calm
since
down or something.
um no, I still feel the same, but it's not. I'm not out here shouting it. More so, I just know
So
it's a
it's
matter.
it's more like privately. You're not like
Yes, because even if I disagree with one or two people, I was actually more than one or two people, but you get the point. If even if I disagree with something, I back then was hurt. I was out of it. I was not mentally stable. Not that's much. I can admit that here. Um, and I felt like I had something to say, and maybe I did. Maybe I did have something to say, and maybe I said my piece. But I feel how I feel then compared to how I feel now. How I feel now is I legitimately just want to be separate.
you're
I
just
don't
not wasting your
care.
time on it
No,
anymore.
no, I'm not wasting my time. I mean, this caused an issue when I just said everybody who's here for our betterness, for our friendship, for our everything. It's best if we just separate this. We can stay friends, but if we do this wrestling, the schedules conflict. everything's happening, and that caused a giant issue. But I had to put my foot down and be like, listen, this is causing a lot of scheduling problems, and we're not getting shit done. Some of you aren't even happy being here. So if you can just go over here and keep our friendship, they didn't take it that way though. And yeah, I I just want to stay.
I mean, you said your piece. I mean, what more can you do
Yes,
now?
and they've not forgotten that. They've not forgotten,
Oh, I bet.
because I'll say the same thing except in a much more calm manner, because I legitimately I respect a few, because there are good people. There are good people, and they know who they are. But it is a strange thing. It goes beyond what I was saying last time. It's kind of, I don't know, man.
Wrestling is weird, and like
Wrestling is weird, yes, but
because like the whole like because you would think like in
mhm.
in backyard wrestling, we all have the same passion, we all have the same loves, dreams, and everything. Yet nobody can get along for the greater good.
I mean, I think there should be respectful boundaries. I think we are all doing the same thing, yes, but we all have different ideas of how that should be done. I think if we can just agree to disagree, and if we can just live peacefully, coexist peacefully,
Exactly.
that's like, you don't have to be buddy buddy, you don't have to work together, you don't have to do all this stuff. If you can at least just peacefully coexist, and that's what we've done. That sounds shocking, but that's how we've been doing it.
See, and that's why I created the Nexus was to get people to come together, and like in the Nexus we have many different styles of, ideologies and
Mm-hmm.
psychology of wrestling, but everybody gets along, you know. But
We get along on a sense of, I'm not talking to you, but I also respect what you're doing somewhat. I'm not going to sit here and slander you, but I'm not going to acknowledge. I'm just going to keep going with what I'm doing.
and honestly, that is better than starting public drama
I don't
and
like
wars and
I don't
fights.
I don't like starting public drama. I really like I look back on what we did. I'm like, what the fuck was I thinking?
You
Because
know, and
I'm
I'm the
an
same way
introvert.
because honestly, you know how many people has tried to publicly bash my name and my brand, and I don't engage. Words don't hurt me.
Me neither.
Because on like my thing is at the end of the day, what is some fucking nerd in the backyard wrestling community gonna say that's gonna hurt my feelings? Because at the end of the day, I'm logging off and I'm spending the night and the day with my two kids and my beautiful wife,
I
and that is
I have
more.
to,
That is more.
yes.
That's more than some fucking backyard wrestling. You know.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of something that if anybody listens, because people are probably going to listen to this, because
Yeah,
it's
because I'm
going to
the
be
fucking
a
goat,
thing.
Anthony Aries.
Yeah, and well, yeah, but I really just want to say, this is kind of my general thing of, you can do what you want to do. You can put out the product you want to put out. You can be who you want to be, but do not let this mindset that's plagued us for so many years take a hold of you. Do not, don't give in to yourself, because you're going to get heated. You're going to get mad. You're going to do all this. But the truth of the matter is, we can either sit here and be mad and grumble about it, or we can just say, hey, I'm going to fucking prove you wrong, and go off and do something. That's what we got to do. That's we got, like, we can't just sit here and make posts, unless it's a serious issue. If it is something that is worth knowing, and you have to say to somebody, and you have to get it out there, I would say do it. But if it's something like, so and so said something bad about me, who gives a shit? Who cares?
Honestly, because I heard a saying once. I'm gonna paraphrase it. That
Mm-hmm.
if someone says something bad about you, that's their fault, right? That's on them. If you let it get to you, that
It's your
becomes
fault.
on you.
Yeah.
Then it's your problem and your fault. But the thing is, like, all these problems in backyard wrestling is just mostly petty ego shit. And at the
Yes,
end of the day, nothing we do in backyard wrestling realistically matters because we're not professionals. We're not, you know.
I would disagree on the level of, maybe we aren't professional, but it's there's a, if if I
I'm
may
saying
compare
like I'm
this,
saying like
you know,
example like I'm a 10-time FBW champ, like 9-time, 1-time SGW champ or whatever bullshit. 10-time backyard wrestling world champ. I can't
yes,
take that and go to like a indie school and be like, yo, I'm a
no,
10-time FBW. Like, but people be like, oh, I'm a fucking 20-time champ. I'm top shit. It's like,
no.
no, you're
I mean,
not. And it
I
irks me. It really does.
I
And that's
equate
where
it.
like all these ego issues stem from.
Yes,
Is like people think that crap. It's like why can't we just have fun? Let's just
I've
chill.
had to quell a few. I people probably know I have a position of power in UWA. Although that has, I maintain that it is a group effort. Basically, if I have an idea, I'm going to go through my people and be like, "What do you guys think? Can we tweak this? Can we add to it?" But there have been times where we've had to quell some ego, and it has not been fun. Like it's I don't like confrontation. So I'm usually like, listen, we have a problem here. Can you stop?
Or you're
Can you just
fired.
stop?
Or you're fired. No, and
I've had to do it.
honestly, like, luckily, like, I haven't had to deal with that in FBW. Like, everybody in FBW kind of just like, because obviously everybody knows I'm the owner of FBW, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like, I honestly like, I book out what I want, and then I'm like, all right, what do you guys think? What do you guys want to do? And normally, 9 times out of 10, it's all right. Yeah, sure.
That's
Let's.
how you should do it. Like if you
I've
can't just
never,
trust your own
I've
judgment.
never had any politic or ego issues at all in FBW, besides one time with Chris Dynamite.
I
But
can't say the same. I mean, we've had I don't want to call it ego, but I think it was concern that turned into something because I'm not real. Like, I know as a writer, as a creative person, I don't always explain things well. I've tried to do that better, like, but we've had certain unrest when it comes to ideas, but and you have to quell the idea. You have to make sure people understand where you're going to go. It would be like if you're writing a book, you want to make sure that the reader at home understands what they're reading and how you're going to do it. Like, I have to have long talks with people to fully explain why we're making this decision, why we're not making this one decision, why I can't go with your idea. And it's hard to do that. It's
I
very
know.
hard to cipher through ideas, but you have to do it because, yeah, I believe fully in when UWA, if it ever goes away, we will still have this. I want it to hold up. I want it to be something that people can look back on and be like, yeah, it had its flaws, but it also had some fun shit. It also had some fun times. It was doing good things. If I can at least leave a couple of good memories behind, that's fine with me. But I want to make sure that whatever we do, the audience is having fun with us, not without us. You got to have fun with us. So yeah, it's hard to quell these things because people. I'm. It's not really good for us when a lot of those incidents have gone public.
I know because like we already get looked down upon. Everybody thinks
Yes,
like backyard wrestling. Oh, like that's just childish. That's like
yes,
you know garbage compared to actual indies or people like trying to self train in a ring is look sloppy or trampoline wrestling is stupid or like it dangerous or like all these stereotypes. And then like if people are like, all right, I'm gonna go give this backyard wrestling thing a chance, and then they come in and they see all this stupid petty drama bullshit, it's like
oh
that's
no,
just a
it's not.
turn
It's
off,
not a
you
good
know?
look. It's not. It's
Yeah,
not a good look.
it proves their point.
It does. That's something. If I had to scream a big message to this community, if they're going to listen, I said this privately the other night to some people that I trust, but I'll say it now: is you have the opportunity to leave a legacy behind. You have an opportunity to put out your vision of what wrestling should be. You like this is the akin, there's punk culture, skateboarding culture. There's like all these cultures that are so free and do it yourself. This is one of those cultures. Don't don't pollute this culture with your own bullshit. Do it for the fact that you love to do this. You're doing it because it's an art. It's all of that. Do not let personal bullshit turn something fun into something fucking stupid and taxing. Don't do that.
And you see, like, thing is, like, the whole world, or like, not a lot of people are gonna remember what we did, but the small bubble and percentage of people
Oh
and
yeah.
peers who watch us and support us, they're gonna remember, and that's
Oh
what's
yeah.
important, you know.
It's very. I mean, I think community. If you're listening again, I'll just say it. Do your art. Stand up for yourself when you need to, but just do what you got to do. Don't 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 listen to bullshit. Do not listen to people who want to hamper you. I would say do what you think is best. Get help if you need to, but still, just trust yourself. That's all. Don't buy into all these stereotypes that have been built about what we your own thing. Don't become another story to tell. Become your own person. Don't buy into that stupid culture
And
because
definitely
that's
check
a
out
big
the
thing.
Backyard Wrestling Nexus if you want to see a good, nice, peaceful and really supportive community. I know you guys got Infinity over there.
Okay, I think I should personally clarify. I've been chosen to represent this. We officially sat down and said who's gonna be like this. BYWN and Infinity are two different things in how they operate and what their purposes are. The BYWN is what you say. It's a collaborative effort. It's a group effort. They put on shows. They
Honestly,
do all
like
this.
like the the whole purpose of the Backyard Wrestling Nexus, like, just to extra clarify, because like
Yes,
people still out there shit on the Backyard Wrestling Nexus, and
which you
one
shouldn't do.
which
You know.
are like, after hearing like the overall message and goal, if you still shit on the Backyard Wrestling Nexus, that just proves what kind of person you are, and it's not good. The whole Backyard Wrestling purpose, basically creating the BYWN, was to obviously run collab shows, which
Mm-hmm.
is to basically make a mixtape for backyard wrestling fans or even outsiders who want to give backyard wrestling a try. The Backyard Wrestling Nexus collab shows offers a mixtape of basically, here, this is some of the best backyard wrestling companies and some of the current backyard wrestling companies, and this is what we're offering. This is what we're producing. Because really, I keep everything basically the way they produce it. I just add the Backyard Wrestling Nexus logo, and then I add some double action replays, which nobody really does in Backyard Wrestling. But besides that, so it's a mixtape. So hopefully someone can see a BYWN collab show and be like, man, I like that company. I like that company. I'm gonna go check out their personal channel. And then also outside of that mixtape, goal of trying to get new people to, venture into backyard wrestling, is to create a group and a network of friends and support. So a company can join in and be like, man, I need some tips, I need some advice, or I just want to make friends who like the same things that I do, which is backyard wrestling and professional wrestling. And that's
Yes.
just the main goal of the BYWN. And I mean, some people still want to shit on it. Some people want to drag its name all over the place or whatever. But at the end of the day, that is our goal. And we've had a whole bunch of successful collab shows.
Infinity. I mean that Infinity operates on one basic thing. If someone now this is not if this is if someone needs help, we're gonna help. But it's more or less a we sanction only one thing. We only have really one official thing, and that's the tag team championship belts. We have the championship belts. They go from promotion to promotion.
I've really thought about doing like a BYWN title, but like that just seems so fucking like of a hassle to keep up with, especially because like all my
It
companies are not in the same state.
it can be a challenge to do that championship, but
Well, Infinity
our
Infinity has like a lot of Tennessee companies, right?
that's something else. That was a. It's mainly located here, but we do have other people out in the world. Um, that's mainly. It is basically used to help promote other things. It's kind of a thing like that, but it's also a. We tried a show. We did. We tried a show, and it was good. I think it was. We presented something. It was a wide scope of what we were doing, but it wasn't the complete story. It's kind of like just a little group of people that have come together to, like, we don't always promote, we don't always go out there and do this shit, but if something needs to be promoted, if something needs to be helped or fixed, if someone needs ideas, if we have to talk about ideas, we do it there. It's a matter of, I need help, or I need advice, I need a friend, I need all that. I personally don't think there should be any hatred between these two entities. That's just me
Yeah, so
personally.
so so let's talk about that. I think one of the major criticisms and like shit that Infinity got when they first started, like formed up, was it's a Nexus ripoff, and they're only being created to take a jab or put the BYWN out of business. So, what is your thoughts on this whole BYWN versus Infinity war that
Well,
the community has created up?
I can tell you straight up that only one person thought that.
Who?
I'm not going to name his name.
Oh, nah, I'm full on zoomed up on your face. You got to mention.
Oh Lord,
We're
don't look
shooting.
at my face. Um, I,
He says
I
it's. He said it's the tetanus speaking. He said it's
don't.
my eye.
Okay, I'm going to preface this. If you see this, and you're the one watching, if you see this,
Honestly, if he thinks the Nexus and the Infinity are beefing, he probably ain't watching this.
um, at the time, it was Dale who thought that we should. Um, Captain Law.
He thought that like you guys
He
should
thought
beef with us.
he thought that we should compete. I don't know why, but I don't know if he believes that currently.
I
Um,
don't think so.
but I mean, there have been times where there have been anger, but in reality, I don't have any ill will. I don't have any personal grievance. I just do what I do. Infinity and BYW, and I think, are completely different things in how we operate, how we organize, and how we do things. I think it is best just to live side by side. It's best to have some peace. But the whole war is basically, I don't like the war. I think it's, you can
There's
support
not even a
both.
war.
You can support both. You can watch both, because
I mean, we're both trying to tackle on certain problems in the backyard wrestling community. There's nothing
I,
wrong with that
I
because
think
at
the
the end of the day,
BYWN
both problems are being tackled.
the
Both.
BYWN focuses on unity, which is a wonderful thing to focus on. I agree with the
Hey,
message.
hey! Shout out BYWN Unity, the 3-year anniversary show.
I Yes, Infinity is more or less like, it's a collection of like people who run a show that we help each other. We help each other with advertising. We help each other with ideas, graphics. It's more or less like a little group that it's not meant to compete with anybody. It's just our little group. I can't really describe it more than it's. I mean, it's probably somebody else could probably describe it better than me, but it's more or less a. It's just a group. It's just like an idea. It's a logo. Just a logo. It's a
And
little
I
logo.
mean, hopefully, another thing is, we can hopefully put these rumors,
Oh no, we can
to
put the rumors
dead.
to rest.
Because I mean, like let's look at it. I don't. By the
We've been
time,
snippy.
by the time this airs, it's already going to be announced. Like it's no secret, and even if you guys haven't know, you can even check the Instagram. You would have been announced by the time this publishes that you're going into the BYWN Hall of Fame. So hopefully, with that, I don't know what the reaction is going to be because, at the day of this recording, it hasn't been uploaded yet.
I don't know, man.
So hopefully,
People can react how they want to react, but in my opinion, we don't got to be buddy buddy. We can at least coexist. There's no problem with coexisting. I don't find it to be a hassle. I mean, think about it. My whole career has been coexisting in some shape, form, or fashion. I don't care. I want things to be a little bit smoothed over because I mean there have been times where we've been at each other's throats, but those things have been resolved. It's been a bunch of misunderstandings.
I mean,
It
it doesn't help that like you say one thing and then someone tries to be a median and then
Yes,
twists everything.
that never works. That never works. Median, I don't think ever works. But I want to say right now, I don't think there should be any beef. I think we should do our own things. We should be our own entities. We should do it, but we shouldn't have any hatred because we're trying to accomplish the same goal. There's no point, you know?
And I mean, hopefully one day, BYWN or no BYWC would be great again. Hashtag merch being released. Make backyard wrestling great again. 2024.
Uh,
Donald Trump, please do not sue me. I ain't got
I
money to
don't know
pay.
about that one, brother. I don't know about that one. That's a tricky one.
So we spent like 30 minutes talking about just like BYWN or BYWC. I,
Yeah.
I'm I'm so used to saying BYWN. So when I try to mention the backyard wrestling community, instead of saying BYWC, I say BYWN. But
Mm-hmm.
we spent 30 minutes talking about the politics of the BYWC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so let's go over some of your career. One thing that we haven't discussed really. I don't remember our last podcast. So professional, but UWA was practically almost launched on the back of the BYWN. He said, "Shout out! Look at that logo." So you left TBW.
Mm-hmm.
You joined the BYWN. So let's talk about what created and what made you create UWA. Because I remember you joined the Nexus, and then I think we announced UWA on the Nexus channel actually.
There was the announcement on the channel on the UWA channel, and it was another announcement on the BYWN channel. What created it was a. I'm not a spiritual person. I'm really not. But something told me you got to keep going, and you got to do it. You got to have your vision. And I just wanted just to keep wrestling. I wanted to do it. I loved being involved. I loved to write. I loved to do all of it. And it just happened. I know the first person that I called, the very first person that I called, I explained it to him, and he was on board.
Talking about Redneck Mayhem, right? Him or who
No,
was it?
at, at the time, I didn't say publicly who it was because he was keeping kayfabe, but it was CJ. CJ was the first.
Interesting.
CJ was the first. He's more involved than you think.
Because he didn't join until like later on. Because like you
Oh
and
no,
you and Redneck did like the first thing.
he was there. CJ was there the whole time.
He just wasn't on screen or some shit.
No,
Basically,
I'm going to be honest. As a writer, that's my greatest success. Is CJ? That's my greatest success because we took something that we took a character, which was his. That's his vision. That's his character. He came up with every facet of that character. But
honestly, I don't remember CJ coming in. I honestly all I remember is you did the amazing feud with Redneck,
oh my god,
and then all of a sudden CJ's world champ, and you're doing the program with him. That's all I remember. I'm not
he
gonna
came
lie.
in and he was nervous. You know,
But I know for a fact that the first thing UWA did was you versus Redneck.
mayhem.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I'm thankful we started off with that. You needed a one singular thing to focus on first.
Well, I mean, it set the stage for
It did.
UWA.
And Mayhem, Mason, I know he's still with us. He's just not, he's more so working behind now. Um, I hold that to such a high caliber. People, no idea how much that dude does for us. He is so good. He's so great. I'm thankful to have him as a friend. He's just a great friend, honestly.
So was the name always going to be UWA Underground Wrestling Alliance, or what were some other names if those were on the table?
There was Fighting Spirit Wrestling,
All
which
right.
would have been fine. Um, Other little various different names, but I was like, well, everybody usually has a BYW or they have a BW. What is
Yeah.
something completely different? Which is there's nothing wrong with with
I'm not gonna
BYW
lie.
or BW.
I hate that I named my company
No,
FBW. I hate
so I
it.
thought,
It's so generic, like Florida Backyard Wrestling.
what is
Granted,
striking? Like, what is striking? So I thought UWA. I didn't know what it stood for, but UWA. And at the time, I didn't know, but there were previous wrestling companies in the history of professional wrestling that had UWA. Like there was
I
one in Mexico and one in Japan.
I think there's a current indie UWA.
I think there is, and I didn't know.
Fuck it.
I, I, but I was like, okay, UWA. I knew I wanted the logo to be striking. I want it to be every color that your eye, because like there's like a color study. Red and yellow are the colors that your eye will recognize first.
Interesting.
So these colors, but like back here, this catches your eye first. It catches your eye. Also,
Yeah. You don't want to have like a logo with neutral colors that just
no,
blends in. You know.
I wanted to have a striking logo and then Underground Wrestling Alliance. I'm not really sure what those things necessarily mean. I mean, underground probably means that we're not mainstream. That's first thing.
I mean, with your ideology about how like backyard wrestling is like punk, punk rock esque.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I
I
can see
think.
where that
Yeah,
influence came from.
and I will say that there was a lot of stuff that almost happened in the beginning that could have changed everything forever.
Yeah, like I remember, like at one point you discussed that you were just gonna do a match with no ring with Mayhem because I guess the ring was taking long. I remember we had a discussion
Yeah.
about that.
Yes, that
But
was we almost had to do no ring.
was was
But
was the plan always to get a ring, or did
yes, the
you?
plan was to get a ring because I had the plan. I worked in retail for 6 months. I had money saved up. I knew where to get it, which I think I want to plug them on this show, right? That company.
Was it like Monster Ring in
It
Cajun?
is, yes, Monster Rings in Kentucky. Sweet guy that runs it. He's a great person.
Yeah,
Helped
I
us.
think like practically almost all the Fed like the yard
Okay,
companies
okay, but
get.
okay, but still, if you're new getting into this, do that. If you want a ring, if you don't, that's fine.
I'm not gonna
But
lie.
if you do,
When you Google like, oh, like buy a wrestling ring, they're practically like the only like
yeah,
credible
they're
looking
the
site.
best.
Yeah,
They're the best
and they're
because
cheap. Like if you get like if you like the like a tiny like 12 by 12 like
mhm.
schoolboy, like that's like what, like barely $3,000.
They used to be a little bit cheaper. I'm
Yeah,
gonna be real.
yeah.
We caught it at the right time.
I mean, don't get me wrong. 3,000, 2,000, 1,000. That's still a lot of money. I'm not
That
trying
is
to
a lot
downplay
of
that.
money. No, it's a lot of money. I mean, but I will say that very ring that we bought on, I think it was March something, whatever else,
What size is it?
20.
You got
It's a 14 by 14.
okay, not too bad.
Um,
I'd say
it's
anything 12 and up is like what you should use.
it's held up. It's held up. It's 100% held up. It's covered in little scars and dicks and nings and all that, but
Hey, but I mean,
it's
you
fine.
got a pretty good looking arena. Like you're one of the
Thank you.
vets that have it like indoors and not just.
I'm looking out my window right now at it.
That's pretty dope. See, like
It's right out
my
there.
goal is to get a ring and do my own thing, but
Yeah. No, but I mean,
money ain't
I
growing trees. So
I mean, it was a lucky circumstance. I think, I'm not spiritual and I'm not trying to, but I did thank God. I was like, dude, thank you because we got it together. I recall it happening fast because CJ was involved, Mayhem was involved, Buzzsaw Billy came along, you know, then the various guys that were at the time disgruntled with TBW, even though they won't admit it, they were very disgruntled.
So
And
did you put all the money down for it, or the other guys pitched in?
I put the money. That was my money. That came from my pocket. Um, I bought the belt, the first belt, which is right over there.
Yeah, I was one of the first people that you showed that
To
belt to.
see the belt, yes. Although now we've evolved to the third version of the championship.
See that's what a lot of people may not know is like when you were first creating UWA, I was like one of
Yes,
the
no, you
top
were
people that
no.
like found out shit before
I
anybody.
I had an I wanted to make because I never ran a promotion. I never ran a YouTube channel. I have my personal YouTube channel. I never ran a wrestling channel, and I was really trying to figure out what the fuck am I going to do, you know?
And I mean, like, I'm not trying to say like I'm some expert. I mean, I have been running my YouTube since what 2014,
Yeah,
and like, I mean,
that's a while.
I would have 1K subscribers right now if FBW one didn't stop, two continued doing weekly shows in 2019 because we did weekly
Oh my
shows.
god, weekly shows.
That was hell because like we were doing it senior year of high school, and we were doing it like the last 6 months of high school. So like once high school wrapped up, we wrapped up, and we're like, well, we can't like and then
Yeah,
we
that's
just.
understandable.
But if we continued maybe doing it for a couple more months, FBW would be at 1,000 subscribers, and that irks me. That is the one last goal that I love to accomplish. 1,000. I'm at 8 fucking 11. 811.
Mm.
God
I
damn.
mean, but there were disgruntled people. They won't admit that they were just disgruntled, but you should be a fly on the wall to hear these conversations. Um, and it just all happened. It was the first show, the Battle Royal, um, filming Warfares and having the SVBW Virginia boys down to do it. They've been a big help. They are practically, you know, elder statesmen, I guess you
Elder
could say.
statesman, so
No,
fancy.
really, no. If I have an idea, I go to them.
The
I'm,
term elder. He could have said, "Yeah, no, I got like a corporate team,"
yeah, they're the corporate team.
but he's like, "Nah, I'm gonna use some fancy word, elder
No,
spokesman."
like really, no. Like they, like I hold like everybody who is there at the beginning, minus the ones that have burnt their bridge, are based like I've kept them because they're valuable because they understand what I'm trying to do. They steer things back when we sometimes get off course. That's what they do.
I mean, it's always good, I think, to have like an outside pair of eyes who are not like they're like in like
Mm-hmm.
the trenches because
And that's what they are. Like they regulate what we do because I do my research and development. I do try to make sure, you know, there's a difference in me liking an idea and seeing if this idea would work.
yeah,
So,
and that's one of the things of like booking is like you're gonna hear and think of so many good ideas, but it's
mm-hmm.
a matter of putting it where it actually works because not
Well, yeah,
everybody can get their flowers at once, you know.
no, that's
And
a
on top of that,
major
you don't
challenge.
want to overbook a show either. You don't want to add too
No,
many fucking high spots and too many because
no,
then everything gets drowned out and gets forgotten. You know.
that's. I mean, like in those early days, my focus was just to run the main event storyline, was to run the world title storyline,
And you want to know
and
what? Like doing like a one match show, just like a big match featured like on a
that's
show. There's nothing wrong with that.
that's my favorite thing to do, like a fucking UFC super fight type feel,
And you
like to
want to know what?
build.
FBW did that for the longest time. We would
No,
have the
but to build
FBW
it.
World Title match, and then like before and after the match, we'll add some promos, and then boom, it's a show.
No, my philosophy as this person, I everything should build in a story. You don't have to be firing off on cylinders all the time, but you at least have to further the story each time you do something.
Well, you want to know, like another reason like why like a one match like show would work in backyard wrestling is
Why is that?
because like a lot of companies don't have the talent anyway to have like a
No,
fucking 2-3 match card.
well, because our guys have children and jobs, and I always say prioritize those
And that's
first.
another thing. There's been times where I would plan out like a 2-match card at least, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then someone can't show up, then I got to scrap that match. And then, like, I remember like the whole last from like September to like December of my SGW run was just me matches because nobody was able to get together and film, so they ended at SGW, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I remember Sam Reeves had an issue. He's like, "Well, you can't just air the shows of just your matches." I was like, "Why not? I'm the
It's,
world champ. That's the
I
only
mean,
title, and it's still content.
we've had, okay, I think that, like, for example, by the time this is being filmed, we had an incident last weekend. We lost our footage that we filmed. YouTube crashed on us while it was uploading unlisted, and we lost the footage. We're going to reshoot it tomorrow, right? Um, a setback, yes, but everybody was understanding.
Honestly, like you can't let shit like that. Like to be
No,
successful, you got to push through the shit. You got to make chicken salad out of chicken
oh no,
shit.
because there have been some matches that we've lost that I wish the public could have seen.
Oh,
Oh no,
you know how many people give me shit. They're like, "Oh, you started in 2012. Well, where's the content?" Shit
oh,
happens. I filmed
like,
most of the early shit of FBW on a shitty $50 tablet that
oh my
fucking like
god,
crashed like every fucking month, and I had to keep buying a fucking new one.
you got to understand there is.
At one point, I filmed FBW on a fucking 2DS. Dedication, dedication. Come on, and that shit's on YouTube. I made sure I kept that
Holy
shit,
shit, a 2DS.
dude. 360p,
Hell fucking yeah.
dude. And the matches are on YouTube. It's like, what was it?
2DS.
It was Holiday Havoc 2014. It was
2DS.
it was No Love 2015. Yeah,
Fuck
2DS.
yeah.
And I
2DS.
gave the 2DS to Chris Dynamite, and there was one match that I did not upload on that 2DS. It was Arrival 2015, the last
Okay.
match we filmed on the fucking 2DS. And
Wow.
he lost the 2DS. I don't know
How the
what the
fuck do
fuck
you
he
lose to 2DS?
honestly, dude, that Christmas, my dad was like, "All right, what do you guys want?" To me and my sisters. I was like, "Man, I want a PS Vita." I was like, "Come on." And then my sister was like, "No, we want a 2DS." I was like, "I don't want that shit." And my dad was like, "Man, a PS Vita is like what? Almost 300. The 2DS is
Jesus.
like 150." So he got all of us 2DSs. I was like,
I mean,
"Man," and I did
eh.
not use it besides trying to film FBW on it.
Well, then it had a purpose. It
I
had a
mean,
purpose.
360 dude, and like you can only film like 10 minutes at a time, so like I would have to film, stop, dude. And
Mm.
then the only way I can export it off of the 2DS was I had to upload it to Facebook, download it off of Facebook. Dude, it was so cringe.
Oh Lord. Well, but like, okay, but you get the point of just the trials of doing this.
Oh yeah, no. I mean, thankfully, like me, like I'm in a better state of technology and you know knowledge in technology. Like,
I think we have to just really just address something. So in the time that we did the last podcast, people have come and gone from UWA. No secret. We can just say it.
how like I mean, shit, we had a little falling out.
We did. No, and like, stuff has happened. There have been things that have happened, and it's the difference in carrying on and staying with it. That's because we had Atomic Titan on our show. That didn't work. You want the juicy details? I was one of the ones that thought that it couldn't work.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Like, I remember like even when we had our falling out, like I would still try to keep tabs on
It
like
couldn't
you and
know.
UWA, and like I thought it was weird, like you starting to allow some TBW guys.
Oh
Like I
no,
just felt like it was a recipe for disaster eventually.
and you know what? It kind of was, and it was that was my attempt to make peace That was my attempt to be like, I hold no grudges, but it turned out that it just wasn't sustainable. It wasn't going to work. It's just two different philosophies on how we do things.
Oh
You know,
yeah, I mean, if you look at TBW and then you look at UWA, it's two different things. UWA is trying to be its own thing, and then you got TBW
yes,
trying to be a WWE wannabe.
which
So
that's their burden to bear.
let's not even get on the topic of WWE cosplaying shit in backyard wrestling.
No,
'Cause that shit
no,
irks the fuck
but
out of me, dude.
it's the philosophy for me. I always try to be original, and they take inspiration, and that's fine if you
Which
want to do that. You know?
tell me if I make sense or not.
Mm-hmm.
How do you not want to create your own being, your own legacy? Why
I
do
mean,
you want to steal it from another person? Why not be you? Why not create your own fucking?
I have my theory, but
Sure, maybe you can say it's a safety net. It's growing up, wanna being them, but
I think it's a matter of you. Some people want to pay tribute, and some folks think that they can get away with it.
okay,
And
there's a difference paying tribute and then just straight up being them.
oh no, I listen. I love
You know,
Cactus Jack.
but
I
you're not
love
dressing
Cactus
up as
Jack.
Cactus Jack coming
I
out to his theme song,
I didn't call myself Cactus Jake. You know, like I don't do that.
or you don't
I
dress up as him, use his theme song
I
in.
wore the Cactus Jack shirt once.
See,
Only
but that wasn't your character.
yeah, that was
That's
once.
tribute. Like example, I'm not trying to dog Josh Allen, dude. He's chill. In fact, Josh Allen, he was my last episode before you. He does the Chris Jericho Painmaker thing. That kind of irks me. Sure, Chris Jericho tweeted at him and said, "Oh, go for it, kid," but it's not the
I
point, you know.
I pray for that man. I if I don't I wish the world could see what that man has to deal with.
But
That's you know
that's just what comes off because I don't watch TBW. So I mean,
no me neither.
maybe what oh, Gage Flair. Yeah, how the fuck did I forget
Who
about that fat fuck? Exactly
who
him. That's straight up. You
I know
know,
I'm probably being a hypocrite, but that's the one person I don't have any respect for.
no, I don't like him either. Fuck you, Gage Flair.
I
All right, let me cut that out. I'm just playing.
no, if I could say one thing, um, I wish you'd just find God and learn to love yourself and stop doing this to yourself and others. Honestly, like this is not even a fuck you moment. It's please find help because you're just destroying yourself slowly and slowly.
Find help 1-800.
Oh no, there's not even a 1-800 number that can help that motherfucker.
Jesus Christ. But no,
Where
I hate cosplaying motherfuckers. I do.
I I choose to just ignore it because it's none of my business.
Dude,
It's
it's
not.
so wild. Like
I mean,
like people and the thing is like a great example of like tribute is like the Messiah of the Yard. When I was the Messiah of the Yard,
mm-hmm.
like people want to say, "Oh, that's just Seth Rollins' like ripoff." It was two different things. Because one, Seth Rollins, he wasn't going out on TV calling people sinners and like,
I
you
mean,
know,
you didn't. I mean, you didn't call yourself Anthony Rollins.
exactly. Sure, like the Messiah was like I created it off the idea of
Yes.
Seth Rollins, but then I was like, okay, how do I make it my own?
That
Well, I'm gonna
bandage.
be more religious. Seth Rollins wasn't saying, "Oh, you guys are
No, he was.
sinners," and
No, he was not.
I called people sinners. I was like, I'm gonna go send people to damnation, or like when people do promos on me, I'll claim that they're speaking blasphemy. You
Yeah,
know,
like you took something and you made it a little bit your own. What the pro? I mean,
the only similarity that we had, was sometimes I would mention I'm doing this for the greater good,
yes.
but but
That's. I don't.
people, man,
I choose to stay the fuck out of their business for a reason. I'm not going to say what that reason is on camera, but it's a fucked up reason. I choose not to get
they got
involved.
some dark secrets over there.
Yeah, but that's not my place to air.
Well, I mean, I know some, but
You know some,
dude, they're wild. I ain't trust nobody. Hey, Steve
but
Austin, don't
but
trust nobody.
Okay, but you understand why I keep my distance.
Yeah, which I mean you should. Honestly, like realistically, what gain or benefit do you get?
Oh no, and it's not just people be like, well, you have a personal bias. Well,
You've been there. You've been in their trenches. You've
I've
been.
yes, I was on the booking team. I was in the trenches.
Yeah, you were never world champion. Come on, you could have brothered your
Uh
way up there.
no, I mean I said on the last time that they hated me because I refused a championship. But the reason was I was going to college and they were filming on weekdays. I had to go to school on weekdays.
Wait, so
If I
Jake Howell was gonna be the TBW world
I was
champ?
gonna be I was gonna be the continental champion. I was gonna be the mid card championship.
Oh
But they were
fuck.
trying. See, this is the difference because Fat Asian, who I like him, we're not as good of friends as we used to be, but we're still friends. He was the continental champion, and they wanted me to take it from him. But part of the deal I made with Robert was I'm not going to take the championship. I'm a newcomer. He's been there longer than me. He has the right to do that. You know, I it I didn't want to just come in and take his belt. That wouldn't have made sense. Like, sure, it would have made me a star. I wanted to do it. I wanted to earn it.
So what is one storyline or one match that was going to happen in TBW that you wish like went
I
like
pitched a lot, and some of that stuff they use for other people.
so what is one thing that you wished like out of all like you wish would have happened before you left?
I wanted to fight Ledger in a feud,
Interesting.
but he took that feud idea and gave it to somebody else
What was the
after
feud idea?
that. And if you follow TBW and you hear this, you're gonna be like, they did that, yeah, because it was my idea.
That's so scummy, but proceed.
The idea was I was going to just be J.K. Howell, my own thing. Ledger was going to have a fascination with me, kidnap me, brainwash me into another version of himself. I was going to wear the Joker paint, dye my hair green, be a partner.
Interesting.
And then eventually it was going to lead to a blow off match where I shed the skin. And they took that and gave it to Andrew Clay, who I know Andrew. He's a decent fella. And they gave that to him. He became Mr. C. I came up with the name Rampage for them. But see that's just I don't take any. I take basic credit, but I'm not out here being like that's my idea.
I mean, yeah. What like realistically, what's the point at that? Like, what
There's no fucking because it doesn't matter
exactly?
because yes, those are my ideas,
But
but
now you
who's
got your
just
own Fed, and you can
yeah, no,
exactly.
that's the
So
thing. I've had better ideas than that. On Joker paint would have worked. We're just speaking realistically. Um, but I mean, they wanted me to win the Continental Championship to to go behind Fat Asian's back and to win it. I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. That's not what we agreed upon. I'm
so
not gonna fuck my friend over.
so do you have any regrets of like any like goals or anything you wanted to accomplish besides the ledger stuff like in TBW, or you're pretty
I
content
wanted
of what your run was?
when I first came in, I wanted to be the Bloodsport champion because it was
Interesting.
more like technical wrestling, bloody shoot fighting type thing, and like that's my thing. I wanted to do that, but they retired it. I'm like, are you sure? Like, can I please at least have like an attempt to be in this division? You know,
But
that's the only
they
other thing. But
practically had you with Titan and
which yeah,
that was like your
which
main thing practically.
it was my idea to have a stable. I thought that would be good. It wasn't. Um, the I made the industry name in the logo, of course.
I feel like when you came into TBW, you were kind of like a breath of like fresh air because like you just had
I
like the
was told
aura
that.
because like you had the aura of like a wrestling fan and like an old school like so like I feel like honestly like if I
That's where we clashed. That's where we clashed because I
they
wasn't
try to make you a goddamn sports entertainer.
no because I wasn't trying to go out there and I wanted blood. I wanted emotion. I wanted passion.
I mean on I could see you being like the face of like the blood sport division
that's what I wanted to do. I love that
and
championship.
and you probably would have gotten more over in that division than what
Prob
you
yeah, no. Like that's why UWA is more of like on the ground, you know, submission, technical, somewhat high flying, but like all the striking. That's why. Because that's what I like. I prefer story. I prefer a punch mattering. I prefer a kick mattering, a slam, all that. I prefer that. And people know people within they understand my vision and they mold it to what they want.
so so before we move on from TBW,
Mm-hmm.
um, what would you think was your best match from your time in TBW?
Best match. I was not good then. Um, from a storyline perspective, me and Fat Asian,
From what show?
Exodus.
Interesting, interesting.
I
Why
had the
so?
most fun with that. Well, because it was a old school Southern wrestling style brawl. It There was powder thrown, there was poison mist spit, there were chains, trash can. Like it was just a brawl.
Was that your guys' blow off match?
Yes, that was the blow off match. That's what a blow off match. Of course, Gage Flair on the show stole most of my spots when I brought the weapons. He used my table. He used all that. So
That
we
that's
were
foul.
handicapped. Yeah, no, we were handicapped in the match. We had to improvise shit. The original finish was me going through a table from the top rope.
So what was your last match in TBW?
The last match was me and Fat Asian at the season finale.
So like it was like I'm guessing like a match or a couple matches
Uh,
after this one or the one
that
you
was the
just
last match because after that was training, and then the training incident happened, and then I left.
Wait, so Exodus happened before or after season 5?
Exodus happened before the finale of season 4.
And then your last match was season what? 4?
Was at the season 4 finale.
So how many matches was that after Exodus?
There were a couple tag matches.
So like after that it was practically just right like did you
Yeah,
know after Exodus that you were leaving or it was
no,
like
I knew I was leaving that December because it was just bullshit. It was just complete toxicity. It was not a good place for me to be.
obviously like if you guys want to get more in detail
Yes,
check out the first
yes.
podcast which I'll link in the
Although,
description.
although, if you want to hear somebody who's completely fucking pissed, go watch that. I can say it much more calmly now. It was a mixture of ego.
No, honestly, I think you were pretty calm,
I was
or at
calm, but
least
I
like
was
for the
also
first
a little
half.
salty. I was like I'll say publicly here I do have autism and neurodivergency, so it's hard to cope with things
Yeah,
sometimes.
that was like your first public thing
Yeah,
after
no,
you left
that's
TVW.
something. No, that's I have, and I've worked better on camera since then. But the truth is, it was a mixture of I didn't like what they were doing because they were just actively. I don't know. It was there was a lot of
You needed time to vent, which
I needed to get the fuck out of there
oh, true that, true
because
that.
it was not working with it was just I was going down a horrible path, and there were things involved in that I almost succumbed to, drinking, drugs, and all that.
That's wild.
um
That's wild.
I, I didn't do it because that's not what I want to do. And I to this day I don't I don't even wish ill will upon Gage because unlike everybody else, I know Gage's personal story. I know his personal life. I know what he went through. And yeah, he was a dick to me. He made a lot of inappropriate comments about me. He did some things that aren't professional towards me, you know. But at the end of the day, I can safely say I don't wish good upon him, but I don't wish bad upon him. I don't care. He can do whatever. I don't think about him on a daily basis. I don't. I've seen him one time since all this.
Really?
Yeah, one time,
Just like
and
you
it
ran
was
into him in like public, or
yeah Walmart. But it was a matter of he had promised that the next time he saw me, something was going to happen or something.
like what? Like he just acted like you didn't exist or some shit.
Yeah, he took one look at me and he was uncomfortable and he walked away. I I laughed, but I moved on because it was kind of funny.
This
Um,
motherfucker looks at you. I guess I don't need my bagels anymore.
I don't know what he was getting in Walmart, but I don't know.
Big bag of fat ass
He's a
McDucks.
complicated individual. I'll say that. He's a case study for any psychologist wanting to write a good book. But
That's wild. That's wild.
uh, that
But on to brighter notes.
yeah,
On to brighter notes. Got a little deep there. So obviously, you left TBW, and then
I did.
you created UWA. What do you think is your best match to date in UWA?
In terms of wrestling or story,
Up for you to decide. Overall,
I think
if you had to pick one, just
I
one.
think the CJ match at FD1
All right, interesting. Why so?
be because for that we built CJ up for like a whole year from March to March, from 21 to 22. Nobody could pin him. Nobody could beat him. Nobody could get their finish off on him. He was unstoppable.
And then Roman Reigns came in and fucked them up.
Oh Lord, no! It was which Logan pinned him in the battle royal for the belt. That wasn't planned. He's supposed to go over the top rope, but I don't hold that against them. But we
What did
built him up.
did they go into business for themselves, or was it a
No,
misunderstanding?
it was a misunderstanding. That was something I'm not going to hold that. I remember it, but it's nothing.
Yeah.
But we kept CJ pretty well protected. He went through everybody and he beat them. And then my story was I got my sternum injury, and truth be told, I've not been the same since that injury. But I'm still trying.
So what do you think is the defining moment that happened in UWA that defined what UWA is? Yeah, I'm asking them hard hitting questions.
Defining moment
Like, what do you think? Like, is the moment that happened, or it could even be a match if you want.
that made us into
Yeah,
what we are.
yeah.
I would have to
I mean, you
say
could argue honestly, like the Underground Rules, you and Mayhem, because that was really like the first major
that's
showing.
one. When CJ won the belt against Joe, I think is one. When Dalton won the Underground title, I think Slade and Taylor's dog collar match, personal favorite of mine. The moment we became us was I think officially I think was when CJ beat Joe for the belt.
Really?
But it was after that shaped us. It was CJ beating Joe for the belt that was the first little, you know, step.
Mm-hmm.
But it was 2022 when we had me, CJ, we had Chant, Chase Sullivan, we had Jared, we had Our guys. Nobody else's guys. Our guys. It was, I think me and Mayhem was the first. It kind of established that UWA wasn't going to be like, it was going to be for blood feuds. It was going to be for old school style wrestling.
I
It was
mean,
going to be for
that
the
that
blow off.
that was honestly one of the best backyard wrestling matches I've ever seen.
Thank you. Thank you. Mason to this day loves that match. We still talk about that match occasionally because it was, I loved it. I still love it. I still watch it. I still study because I got to make sure that I'm back on it because that I feel like that's the first because let's see, we'd done up to that point we'd done a couple of shows, but that was the first long term story that got fully
Yeah.
resolved. Although it didn't happen like it should have happened.
Really?
No, because what was supposed to happen was Mayhem was supposed to win that match.
Didn't he dip out after that?
He got hurt. He had a back injury. His back basically gave out, and he's like, I can't do this no more. Which I wasn't mad. I was sad, but
Well, I mean,
that's
yeah. I mean, like, why get mad at him? You can't help that.
no,
It's
because
wrestling.
some were mad.
Really? It's
Some were mad,
wrestling. Shit happens. You get hurt.
and I was like, no, don't be mad at him because that's his body.
Yeah. Because like
And
realistically, what happens if he continues?
the original plan, he was going to win the match and go on to beat Joe for the belt.
Really?
I was building this fucker up.
So then, what would have happened with CJ then?
CJ would have.
Because
It's.
I'm guessing CJ took his spot.
I guess we can just air it. The original plan was I was going to turn heel. I was going to be the heel world champion. CJ was going to be the face going into this, and we were going to pull the switch.
I think you've told me a little before of like your heel character.
Personally, but we had to. I'm kind of glad that it worked out how it did.
You've never turned heel to this point besides TBW.
No, and I'm saving it. I'm saving it. It has to be right. It cannot be spur of the moment. It has to be right.
Well, you gotta do it before you become stale.
That's true. The I've not done everything I want to do as a face yet.
What is there left to accomplish?
Um, I want to have like there are a few matches as a face I need to do. I want to fight Dalton again. I want to fight Slade. I want to. I don't know if this will ever happen. You know, it's a personal match for me. I want Blaze one on one.
Interesting. Oh, that dude hates me.
Um, after that, who knows? This is
Obviously, you're not gonna come here and be like, "Yeah, I'm turning heel by the end of the year."
no,
Obviously, that isn't.
because I'm my path in UWA has always been one on the uphill battle. It's always been someone fighting to keep what is there.
But that's really interesting that you were gonna give Redneck the title because then what would have happened with CJ? Because obviously
He was
CJ
gonna
got
be the first Southern champion
so like when Mayhem left, you bumped him up to the world title slot basically.
because at
I mean,
that point,
I'm not doubting that CJ would have never won the title if Redneck stayed. I'm pretty sure it
oh
would have
no,
happened eventually.
but I'm glad. I'm not glad that anybody got hurt. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is the series of events that happened.
It worked
It
out
was
decently.
it worked out more in my opinion. It worked out fine because CJ by that point, I think he needed that little boost. Some have argued that he should have been the first world champion, but I'm going to be real with you. I think that he needed that time to grow first. And
I
I
mean,
think
I can see that
he
because
would
the
say that.
first world champ was a TBW guy in
Yes,
Anderson,
but
but he was already established.
he was. That was
So then a home talent beating the established guy builds the homegrown talent.
exactly. And I didn't think about that in that term at that time, but it was, you know,
Makes sense now.
it makes sense now because we didn't think about it. It
My
was
logic would be, you have the already established guy that people know of, right?
Yeah.
and then he brings ice to the title to the company, and
Yes.
then in turn you build up your homegrown talent that you want to be the next champ, and then boom.
I think
So
that's
now
what
you
happened.
now you made the company and you made
I
the homegrown
I
talent.
that's why I think CJ winning the belt for the first time is what made us what we are.
Yeah, kicked off a new era of
Yes,
UWA.
because before that, and I'm not Joe, I know you hate me. I know he does.
Really, you guys are not close together?
No, because of stuff that happened.
Oh,
He's
I just got to like meet him maybe like a couple months ago.
yeah. He at one point was one of my closest friends,
I told
but
him if he comes to Florida, he's gonna job out to me because I'm the goat. But
he might take that seriously.
nah, we were laughing about it.
But I respect Joe. TBW weren't using him to his full potential when we did that.
I mean, he has a badass look. Like his whole,
Oh no, he
he
does.
looks
He's
packaged.
like, in my opinion, it was a good first choice because he wasn't really a TBW guy because they weren't really doing nothing with him. They had him losing.
And then
We were the first.
then after then he became world champ, and
Yeah, no, we were the first ones to do something with him.
so
We
you
saw it.
use him good, you use him to his potential. They were like, oh, we see what he is. All right,
No,
we'll take
because
him back.
Joe by that point was just doing random things. My thinking with Joe was, and this is the thinking of me and CJ and all that, we were like, listen, this is somebody that could be a dominant first world champion. Somebody like this anti-hero type guy. You put that fucking spear over. And to build CJ to take it from him was the perfect thing to do. It was perfect.
I agree. I agree.
From that point, we've been us, and then it was me and CJ at FD1. It was a bunch of different other things. Like our best matches have always been with the homegrown people. I think.
Well, yeah, because I'm pretty sure there's like more of like a level of like love and like
Well, I
care.
mean, there've been. I mean, that's probably very okay. I need to go because I think that there have been matches. The homegrown have had good matches, but also Laws had some good matches with us. Blaze had good matches with us. I fought Anthony Steele one time. That was a fun match. I'll give him that credit. You know,
I mean,
but
it's always fun like wrestling like people out of like your home group.
yes,
Like
and
what
though
like I've had the time of my life. Probably the funnest period in my whole career was when I went to SGW.
yeah,
You know what? So before we get into other stuff, let me ask you a really hard hitting question. This is a
okay,
a friendship test right here. What is your
I
favorite Anthony Aries test or Anthony Aries match? Yeah, and I'm
I
zoomed
think
up in your face. Hey,
I
you
think
can't
that
hide it.
you and Reeves really went the fuck at it.
Wait, yo, did you watch BYWN Heart of Glory?
I saw at the time I was editing a show, but I had it and I was looking at it. And I'm like, this just kind of ticks the boxes.
I'm
It's pretty
not gonna
good.
lie. Me and Reeves both agreed that BYWN Heart of Glory, the what was it, the Georgia Bull Rope match, that
Yeah,
was our
that's
best
yeah.
match.
It was
The whole
the bull
story
rope.
was there. The story
Yes.
was there, so like we deserved the main event spot.
No, like that's it's perfect. Like you guys had it right there.
And I choked his ass out and won the fucking title. Cause I'm
Yeah.
the GOAT. That's wild. I did not know you watched Heart of Glory. I think I sent it to you,
I
but
keep up. I keep up when I need to, but I'm trying to like I'm trying to outside
yeah.
of wrestling. One of my focuses, I'm trying to become a counselor, a therapist.
So, what was your favorite part of the match? Yeah.
Honestly, see, I just like violent matches.
See, I really think like when I came up to SGW, and it's no knock at SGW, but like their like level of like professionalism and like motive and like attitude towards wrestling is different from like what mine is with FBW.
Everybody's different, I think.
So when I came into SGW, I really felt like I brought like a whole new style for SGW because I remember like Damian Prime, who was the commentator, he even mentioned he's like he's like this is that FBW style, not this SGW shit.
I think
But yeah, and I won.
that's just my personal prayer. Like, I think that to end a feud, you have to have that blow off. Like, you have to have that violent blow off because people want to see you fight.
Yeah,
So
because like the first match me and Reeves did was we barely got at it, and then bullshit happened, and then he got a win because like Damian Prime came in, brawled with them, got
that's how
involved.
you do it. You got to build up
And we gave him a
your
little
your
taste, and
matches.
then was
Yeah,
like, okay, you guys, you saw what little we can do. Now you guys got to
like
come
I
into the big match.
like when we did the first UWA thing, and me and Mayhem ended in a double count out. People were like, "That's how you start your first show." But I'm like, you got to build to it. You're not going to get the payoff immediately. If you got the payoff immediately, then what's the point of finishing the rest of your little story? Like, what's the point of keeping going?
I mean, I feel like me and Reeves blew off our story a lot, but I feel like if he was to hypothetically come down to Florida, I feel like it would open like a whole new chapter of
No, you pick
shooting,
it back up. It's the same thing that
and I would fucking win.
if Mayhem called me and said let's run it back, it's a whole new chapter because I'm a
I mean, let's
different
be
character
honest.
now.
Like when you find like a soulmate in wrestling that you have such good chemistry with, it's so hard to be like, okay, we're gonna wrestle once or
I
twice
have
and then be it.
four. I think I have four people like that:
Name them.
Mayhem, CJ, Sullivan, and Dalton.
So obviously, this wouldn't be a backyard wrestling interview if this
Mm-hmm.
question is not asked. So I'm gonna ask it, even though it's the most dumb, overused question. Give me a list of some dream matches. Who are some people that you want to face? If anything and everything is possible.
It's fun. I've already had most of my dream matches.
Well, you ain't face me.
I fought Delta. I fought Kurt Adams and Riley Bates. I fought Captain Law. I've had four of them. Uh, I'd like to fight Jake Frost.
Okay, I've seen a little bit of them.
Um,
Obviously, you're gonna put Anthony Aries on the list, so let's just get it out the way right now.
it happens, brother. You know, yeah. At this point, I'm more of if it happens, I'm cool. You know, I'd rather things happen naturally. That's why I mean, me and Sammy Slade have only ever had one match together. I want more because he's great. Um, I mean, a dream match. There is a guy in BYCW
Who?
in Dalton's thing. Jackson Blade. I want to fight Jackson Blade. I feel like me and him have a good match.
See, I feel like if you and me were to have a good match, I think we would have like a nice, decent, like technical wrestling style
We
match.
we we'd have ourselves a fucking hard hitting technical story match, and that's the way you got to do it.
The Headshot versus the Saint. All right, come down to Florida. You've been
Oh
working hard
Lord.
lately. You need a vacation.
Uh,
I mean,
I've
it's like
been
it's 47 degrees down here, like during the vacation. Think about it.
it. It was it was about 30 the other day.
Hey,
We
hey, that's a 10-degree difference. Come down
That is
vacation.
true. But I mean, dream matches: Jake Frost, Jackson Blade, Slade again. Um, that's pretty much all.
See,
I
like
mean,
I'm personally, I don't dwell on dream matches because honestly,
no.
and this is not a jab at anybody else. Like I just don't fanboy over anybody. Like people ask me, like, "Oh, do you care to wrestle Jack Delta?" No, not really. And like people have made comments saying, "Oh, if you don't like Jack Delta, you know you're not in the right mind space." It's like I don't
Uh,
fangirl over nobody. Like I don't view
is it?
highly of like a Jack Delta. I just don't care.
I'm okay. I'm the same way when it comes to bringing people in. I'm not like a jump for joy, and I think that rubs people the wrong way.
Like I'll recognize if somebody has talent, but I'm not like drooling over anybody being like, "Oh,
Oh, I thought somebody else to fight. Uh,
who?"
there's in Infinity. There's a company we have. It's BCF Backyard Wrestling. They're like hardcore wrestling. Uh,
Interesting.
Mad Jack is a tough motherfucker, and I want to fight him. He seems like a cool guy.
So you think you'll ever travel to some of these people to make a dream match, or it's like
I
they got to
think
come
it,
to UWA?
I would like to start traveling. To be honest, it's just a matter of I'm trying to accomplish my goals of being a counselor.
You know,
Also,
like one thing that like really hurt me because like is having kids and starting a family. If I
yes,
never would have tied myself down, I for sure would have traveled by now. The
I
only
would like to
reason,
travel.
the only reason why I did SGW is because they were only 4 hours away, and like 4 hours, that's nothing. Like
I at least want to go to BYCW.
like what
That's like that's like 3 hours away.
I would love to go to a lot of feds, but like I said, like kids, family, and money, and nobody wants to travel to Florida. Literally, nobody wants to come to Florida. What's so bad about Florida? Everybody's scared of the curse of Aries, I
Eh,
guess.
eh, it's
Like I know Blaze before me and Blaze had a falling out. He was like, "Oh, they're racist down there. They'll kill me if they
no.
see a black person." I
I've
work with
been to
I
Florida,
work with three black people. Everybody
dude.
gets along fine, dude. It's so
I
wild.
Me and Blaze have buried a hatchet, you know, but I'm gonna say, I mean, I've been to Florida multiple times for vacation purposes.
See,
All
I'm right. Where did you go?
I've went to Daytona.
Yeah, I'm right outside of Tampa, so like
So yeah, okay, but
it's way more peaceful over here.
y'all aren't racist.
Exactly.
Y'all aren't fucking racist. I know that for a fact.
No, because well, no, I'm not gonna mention nothing. I was just gonna spoil everything
No,
of
no,
plans, but
no.
no, but like nobody wants to come to Florida. I mean, granted, I don't have a ring, but like then again, like even if I have a trampoline, people still would not come down to Florida.
Then
Maybe if I get a
then
ring,
just
then people would
then
open up.
just
But
find your people. Then just find your people.
dude,
You know?
these motherfuckers in my area.
Yeah,
Oh wow, nobody likes wrestling in my fucking area.
that's stupid.
And like my whole high school bullied me about FPW. And
Well
then,
they can go fuck themselves.
dude, even the wrestling coach bullied me about FPW, and then proceeded to try to like persuade me to join the wrestling team to take advantage of me. I'm like, and like he would always ask, I'd be like, no. He's like, yeah, but don't you love wrestling? You have this backyard wrestling thing. Why not join the wrestling team? Learn some moves, learn some tricks. I was like, I know what the fuck you guys are doing. I'm not stupid. You know, what was that? I was like 15 at the time in ninth grade. I was like, I'm not stupid. I was like, I know what you guys are trying to do. I'm gonna join the wrestling team. And you guys are gonna haze me and take advantage of me and fucking
You
bully
guys are
me.
gonna suplex me and drop me on my fucking head.
Yeah, I was like, I'm not stupid. I was like, I'll do my wrestling thing. Where I'm famous on YouTube. Shut the fuck up. Nobody knows about my
Yeah,
school. But no, man, it's wild, man. It's wild.
it
But
is. It is. It is.
so I'd like to end off the podcast. We've been going for about fucking 90 minutes. Look at us.
Jesus, I
My
didn't.
longest podcast, I think, actually. So I'd like to end off the podcast, talking about, things you're thankful for, because it's good to reflect and really understand and discuss things you're grateful for and stuff.
Mhm.
So what are some things that you are thankful for and grateful for, throughout your backyard wrestling journey?
My family, um, my close friends, like the ride or die motherfuckers, ride or die. Um, I'm thankful for life. Like just like right now, I'm thankful for living because I almost didn't make it throughout this relationship and all this other stuff that happened over the past couple of years with bullshit relationships and all that. Um, I'm just thankful for living right now, even if it's hard.
Now
Thankful for it.
you gotta keep staying strong.
Yeah, and I'm grateful for my friends and my family and for life. But I just want to say, publicly here, don't give up on yourself, man. You guys are too good. Good.
We matter in our own stories in our own ways.
Yes, like everybody. Never think of yourself as an afterthought or that you don't matter when you do matter. You matter.
You're the
You
hero of your own story.
you may not see how you matter. You may not understand it, but you do matter. Everybody's got a purpose. Well,
Hashtag motivational speaker Howell.
I've thought about it.
So I thought about it. Hey, hit up Connor Case. You two would go great together.
I like that guy. He's fun.
Yeah, he's a motivational speaker too.
He's really
Praise Lord
fucking cool.
Jesus. Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
love him too. Um, so real quick, before we officially get off,
Mm-hmm.
as a little, space you can come back to after a bit, what are some goals that you still want to accomplish with UWA or in the career of Jake Howell? Whether it's business for
Or
UWA or just for you and your career.
I have a couple for both. I want my single accomplishments are not as great as the ones I have for UWA. I want to become a tag team champion, and I'd like to eventually one more world title wouldn't hurt.
Yeah.
But that's only if life allows it. I'm not gonna sit here and feel like I got to do it now.
I feel
It's
like
only
that's another thing. Back on like the whole BYWC topic is
yeah.
these yarders think like titles are just
No,
props. Like just because you win a title doesn't mean you're a made man or that you
no.
matter. Titles are just the props.
I think it would be a cool story, but it's not like the end all be all for me.
Yeah.
It's not like a
Like personally, right now, like hypothetically, if FBW came back up, I would not give two shits of winning the FBW title ever again.
I just
Hell,
want a good story.
hell, spoil or no, I've mentioned this on a podcast. I didn't even want to win the SGW title. Sam
Wow.
Reeves had to convince me to win the world title. I just wanted to come in, do the Sam Reeves feud, face guys like Ryan Blade, who I think is a hidden gem in the entire Beckett wrestling community, and
I've
just
heard of him a little bit.
yeah, Ryan Blade, dude, he's a fucking workhorse. He sucks at promos, but he can work. Nah, I love
Wow.
that man. He knows that. But no, like I wanted to do all this stuff, and then I was like, I do not want the world title. I said, if anything, I'll win the title and then I'll drop it immediately back. I was like, I do not want it. And then he convinced me, and then I got stuck into doing like a fucking like 6 month reign.
But my goal with this world championship, if I was to do it, I'd probably want to do it as a heel,
I can see that. I mean, you've already done one as a face.
which that was fun. But I mean, my goals for UWA, I want to run an actual show in front of people, which I think we could do. I've talked to everybody about it. They're down for making UWA like we don't do them all the time, but we run in front of people.
I feel like maybe like do like your biggest show of the year in front of people,
Yes,
like
that was probably the idea.
or do like a holiday live event or something.
Yeah, I want to do charity work with it.
I mean, yeah, it can be like you can do your main UWA storylines and stuff, and then once a year you can do like a big charity event.
Yes, that'll probably make me so
Obviously, not
happy.
overdo it because I mean you don't want to
No,
overdo it and then not draw people. I mean,
no. I think this is just from a booking standpoint. If we ever got enough like light heavyweight wrestlers to have a cruiserweight type division,
can I win that title? I'll come up now. I'm just like
I mean, I don't know.
I'm
That's a
160. I qualify. Yeah, yeah. Just announce it right
I'd
now. Announce
I'd like
Anthony
a
Aries as the cruiserweight champion.
I'd like a women's division.
I'm not gonna cap. I think FBW did the first woman versus woman back at wrestling match of our generation.
You think so?
I think so. I have not seen it anywhere else. I've seen some intergender. I know like ETW in Australia, they did an intergender match,
Good
but
on
like
them too.
but a full on, which FBW did the first ever intergender world title match before them, but that's besides the point. Anyway, but no, like a full on woman versus woman, I haven't seen much of it or in our generation.
I want to do a women. I want there to be a UWA World Women's Championship.
Granted, I got my girl and her sister to do it, but my girl had like she already had a run before that, so it wasn't like I just got them together just to say I
But
did
like
it.
that's probably a big goal for me is to do a women's division one day.
But shit,
To,
dude, like I don't know what's up with it, but like obviously there's women pro wrestlers, but
yeah,
I ain't seen no backyard women wrestlers. Like
I've seen a few.
really,
I've I've seen a few.
from where? Because like I said, like I've seen women do like intergender stuff, but I've never seen like a full on woman versus woman in backyard wrestling. Really,
I think I think they mostly do intergender, but I would want to do a women's championship because I and people internally sometimes like, are you sure you want to do that? I'm like, yeah, yeah.
I mean, good luck finding the people to do it because it's hard to find
That's why it's a
those.
distant goal.
Yeah,
It's a
yeah, because
distant
like
goal.
honestly, I like it's so weird because it's like obviously like I said, there's women pro wrestlers, but it's
I'd
like
like to do a steel cage match,
yeah, that'd be dope.
but our own version of a steel
You know
cage
what
match.
crazy like wild goal of mine is to compete in a backyard elimination chamber.
That was something
But who the fuck would create a goddamn elimination chamber? Like I
to
thought like maybe creating something with it with like like what the steel cages are made out of and like somewhat stacking them and creating but like you know how expensive that would be to even do that?
yeah.
I don't think anybody will ever create that.
We'll see.
All right, yo, if you create some shit, you gotta call me up for that. I'll figure out a way to get up there
I'm
and have me win it. Obviously,
This is just me speaking as like somebody that writes this shit. And this is just I want to integrate. I don't want nobody to feel like they can't come to UWA. Like if you feel like you're different, this is an inclusive type place. As long as you understand that we do this for, we do it for, we do it because we love it. We want to help each other. We want to have a good time. We believe in the art. If you believe in that, you'd fit in. Like the goal, I said chamber matches. I said, steel
don't
cages.
steal my goddamn yard chamber match idea.
We've talked about it.
How honestly, how would somebody go of like creating like a do it yourself
Well,
chamber?
I don't know. That's
And you know how expensive that would probably be because like even if you got like the
very.
like the big like gate planes or whatever, like those are still expensive to begin
I
with.
know it's a lot of money. I mean, no, but like the main thing I want for UWA is for people to enjoy, no matter what that is. No matter if when we're having our Tennessee Jamboree event in March, like we always do. Our Rumble. Um, I just hope everybody just enjoys. Really.
I feel that. I feel that.
Well, I want y'all to have a good time watching the shows, and I want y'all to enjoy. You know, that's all. No clout, no nothing like that. I'm not
That
going to ask you to blow it up. I'm just asking you to have a good time.
that's
So,
respectful. That's respectful.
yeah.
Well, Jake Howell, it's been an absolute honor having you
Thank
on the
you.
podcast. You're definitely a good guest to kick off the
Honored to
year
be
of.
here.
It's definitely a good way to kick off the year of 2024 for my podcast. I mean, it don't get bigger than Jake Howell, honestly, right now.
Eh,
Well, I mean, I guess you could argue, but then again, I only have my friends and people I care about on this
I
podcast.
will.
Because honestly, I'm an introvert. Like,
Me too.
honestly, I do not like. I hate doing like full on like video calls and like talking to people. I'm more of like a texter. So like, if you come on this podcast, I'm somewhat comfortable and I somewhat view you highly to my
Well, thank you.
standards. So
Well,
I
thank
mean,
you.
for me right now, you are probably the biggest way I can kick off 2024 for this podcast. Which,
Well, that
guys,
means a lot.
so guys, if you guys like the podcast, hit that like button so I know this is worth my time. I mean, I definitely
Yeah, I feel
enjoy
that.
chatting up. Hell, like this is like the first time we've like talked like full on in a while. So
Do it on air. Yeah.
might as well. So guys, thank you guys for watching this episode of Shooting with the Saint with Anthony Aries. It's been me and Jake Howell. You want to give yourself a little plug real quick? Where can they follow Jake Howell? he said just. He said just
UWA.
like you're welcome.
Uh,
And what's your Instagram? Because that's where everybody is on Instagram.
head, Headshot UWA.
Headshot UWA.
Headshot underscore UWA.
Well, you heard it. You heard it there, guys.
That's yeah.
Well, thank you guys for watching. Like I said, hit that like button, subscribe, follow the socials, and if you guys want to check out the first ever podcast that Jake Howell did and my first ever podcast hosting,
God.
link in the description. Thank you guys for watching.